What's shaping up to be one of the most intricate winter storm forecasts we've seen this season. Major developments in the last 6 hours of model data, especially affecting the southern and eastern United States. We're going to start with the current winter storm that's winding down, then dive deep into the Arctic pattern taking hold, compare multiple weather models for the next system, and then really geek out about the atmospheric setup that makes this pattern so persistent and dangerous. I've got to tell you, the complexity here is remarkable. We're not dealing with one straightforward winter storm. We're looking at a relentless pattern of Arctic air reinforcement with multiple embedded disturbances that could produce snow and ice over the next 10 days. Let's start with what's happening right now, because the current situation sets the stage for everything coming next. The winter storm that devastated parts of the South is finally moving offshore, but the impacts are far from over. Winter storm warnings remain in effect across New England through tonight. Winter weather advisories extend from upstate New York through Maine. And here's what concerns me most. As this system departs, it's leaving behind a landscape covered in snow and ice just as the coldest air in years arrives. Right now, at this hour, we still have heavy snow falling across interior New England. Let me walk you through the current warnings by color. The pink zones represent winter storm warnings. These extend across Vermont, New Hampshire, central and northern Massachusetts, and most of Maine. The teal color you're seeing represents winter weather advisories covering southern New England, including Connecticut, Rhode Island, and southeastern Massachusetts. Cities currently under winter storm warnings include Burlington, Vermont, Concord, New Hampshire, Portland, Maine, Bangor, Maine, Augusta, Maine, Lewiston, Maine, Worcester, Massachusetts, and the Boston metro area. Under winter weather advisory, Hartford, Connecticut, Providence, Rhode Island, New Haven, Connecticut, Bridgeport, Connecticut, and Cape Cod. Now, here's where the forecast gets challenging. Through tonight, we're expecting another 6 to 10 inches of snow across interior New England. The European model shows the heaviest snow, over 12 inches additional, setting up right across central Massachusetts into southern New Hampshire. The GFS model is slightly less aggressive, showing 8 to 10 inches in that same corridor. Boston specifically. The models diverge here. The European keeps heavier snow going through about 4 o'clock tomorrow morning, with total additional accumulation of 12 to 14 inches. The GFS transitions to lighter snow by midnight tonight, with total additional accumulation of 8 to 10 inches. I think the truth ends up somewhere in between. I'm leaning toward 10 to 12 inches additional for Boston. Along the coast, we've got a transition zone I need to explain. Blue is snow, pink is freezing rain, orange is sleet. You're going to hear me repeat that because it's critical to understand what's falling. Right now, from Cape Cod down through coastal Rhode Island and into southeastern Connecticut, we have a narrow band where precipitation is transitioning between snow, sleet, and briefly freezing rain. This transition happens because there's a shallow layer of warmer air right at the surface, just above 32 degrees Fahrenheit. But the air aloft remains below freezing. Let me get specific about timing for southern New England cities. Hartford, Connecticut. Snow continues through 10 o'clock tonight, briefly mixing with sleet between 8 and 10, then ending. Total additional 4 to 6 inches. Providence, Rhode Island. Snow mixing with sleet between now and 9 o'clock tonight, ending by 11 o'clock. Total additional 3 to 5 inches. New Haven, Connecticut. Similar to Hartford, ending by 10:30 tonight. Total additional 3 to 5 inches. Now let's move inland where the heaviest snow sets up. Albany, New York. Snow continues through 2 o'clock tomorrow morning. Total additional 8 to 10 inches. Syracuse, New York. Heavy snow through 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. Total additional 10 to 14 inches. This is where the deformation zone sets up, a meteorological term for where the atmosphere essentially wrings out moisture like a towel, creating intense snowfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour. Buffalo, New York sits on the western edge of this system. Snow continues through midnight tonight. Total additional 4 to 6 inches. Then lake effect snow takes over Monday and Tuesday, adding another 6 to 12 inches. But that's a separate mechanism we'll discuss in a moment. Portland, Maine. This is one of the bullseyes. Heavy snow continues through 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Total additional 12 to 16 inches. Bangor, Maine. Even heavier. Snow continues through 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Total additional 14 to 18 inches. The European model actually shows Bangor potentially reaching 20 to 22 inches total additional, which would be remarkable. Let me shift gears now and talk about what happens after this system moves offshore, because this is where the forecast becomes deeply concerning. An extremely cold Arctic air mass is settling over the United States. And I need to be clear about something. This is not a one-day cold snap. This is a prolonged period of well below normal temperatures that will last at least through the first week of February. Here's what's fascinating from an atmospheric dynamics perspective. We have what meteorologists call a negative North Atlantic oscillation, or NAO, setting up. Without getting too technical, this means we have blocking high pressure near Greenland that essentially locks cold air over North America. That cold air has nowhere to go. It just sits and reinforces itself. On top of that, we have a trough, a big southward dip in the jet stream over the eastern United States. Every time a short wave, a smaller disturbance, moves through this trough, it creates the potential for snow. We're seeing multiple short waves in the 10-day forecast. Each one could produce accumulating snow somewhere. Let me walk through the temperature forecast. And I want to be very specific here because the cold is intense. Monday morning lows. These are the temperatures you wake up to tomorrow. Dallas, Texas, 8 degrees Fahrenheit. Fort Worth, Texas, 7 degrees. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, 4 degrees. Tulsa, Oklahoma, 6 degrees. Little Rock, Arkansas, 10 degrees. Memphis, Tennessee, 18 degrees. Nashville, Tennessee, 20 degrees. Louisville, Kentucky, 12 degrees. Lexington, Kentucky, 14 degrees. Cincinnati, Ohio, 8 degrees. Columbus, Ohio, 7 degrees. Dayton, Ohio, 9 degrees. Indianapolis, Indiana, 6 degrees. Fort Wayne, Indiana, 7 degrees. Chicago, Illinois, 8 degrees below zero. Rockford, Illinois, 10 degrees below zero. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 10 degrees below zero. Madison, Wisconsin, 12 degrees below zero. Detroit, Michigan, 6 degrees below zero. Grand Rapids, Michigan, 8 degrees below zero. Now the wind chill, which is what it actually feels like on exposed skin. This is where frostbite becomes a real concern. Monday morning wind chills. Chicago, 26 degrees below zero. Minneapolis, 40 degrees below zero. Des Moines, 30 degrees below zero. Kansas City, 20 degrees below zero. St. Louis, 18 degrees below zero. Indianapolis, 24 degrees below zero. Here's the critical piece of information. These temperatures don't moderate quickly. Monday afternoon highs across Tennessee, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas mostly stay below freezing. Nashville, 29 degrees. Memphis, 32 degrees. Little Rock, 33 degrees. Oklahoma City, 35 degrees. Dallas, 36 degrees. These are afternoon highs, the warmest part of the day, and they're not warm enough to melt ice. Tuesday morning brings another round of extremely cold temperatures, and in some locations, Tuesday morning could be colder than Monday morning. Let me explain why. Monday night will have clear skies and calm winds across much of the South and Midwest. When you have fresh snow cover, clear skies, and calm winds, you get what's called radiational cooling. The ground radiates heat into space, and temperatures crash. We could see some locations drop another 5 to 10 degrees below what we saw Monday morning. Tuesday morning lows. Dallas, 6 degrees. Oklahoma City, 2 degrees. Little Rock, 8 degrees. Memphis, 16 degrees. Nashville, 18 degrees. Louisville, 10 degrees. Lexington, 12 degrees. Cincinnati, 6 degrees. Columbus, 5 degrees. Indianapolis, 4 degrees. Now let's talk about the next weather system, because this is where models really diverge and we need to compare solutions carefully. There's a disturbance moving across the southern plains Wednesday night into Thursday. The big question: how much moisture does it have and what track does it take? The European model shows a weak low-pressure system developing over eastern Texas Thursday morning, then tracking northeast through Arkansas, Tennessee, and Kentucky Thursday night. This system would bring light to moderate snow to a large area. The GFS model has a different solution. It develops the low further south, over Louisiana, and keeps it weaker. Less moisture, less snow. Let me show you how different these models are. The European model's snow map shows accumulations of 4 to 6 inches across a broad area from Little Rock through Memphis, Nashville, Louisville, and Lexington. The GFS shows 2 to 4 inches in a narrower band across northern Arkansas and southern Missouri. Which one do I believe? I've got to tell you, I'm not fully convinced by either solution yet. The European has been consistently more aggressive with moisture this winter, sometimes overdoing it. The GFS has been too dry at times. I think we end up with something in between. My best estimate right now is 3 to 5 inches across northern Arkansas, southern Missouri, western Tennessee, and western Kentucky. Let me get specific about cities and timing for this Thursday night into Friday system. Little Rock, Arkansas. Snow begins Thursday evening around 7 o'clock, continues through Friday morning around 9 o'clock. Expected accumulation, 3 to 5 inches. Fort Smith, Arkansas. Similar timing, 3 to 4 inches. Fayetteville, Arkansas. Begins slightly earlier, around 6 o'clock Thursday evening, 4 to 6 inches, higher amounts in the Ozarks. Jonesboro, Arkansas. 7 o'clock Thursday evening through 10 o'clock Friday morning, 2 to 4 inches. Memphis, Tennessee. This is interesting because we're right on the edge of the heavier snow. Snow begins Thursday evening around 8 o'clock. Continues through Friday around 11 o'clock in the morning. The European model shows 5 to 7 inches. The GFS shows 2 to 3 inches. I'm splitting the difference at 3 to 5 inches, but this could easily shift. Nashville, Tennessee. Snow begins Thursday evening around 9 o'clock. Continues through Friday afternoon around 2 o'clock. Expected accumulation, 4 to 6 inches. Clarksville, Tennessee. Similar to Nashville, 4 to 6 inches. Cookeville, Tennessee. This location could see the heaviest snow in Tennessee, 5 to 7 inches. Louisville, Kentucky. Snow begins Thursday night around 10 o'clock. Continues through Friday afternoon around 3 o'clock, 4 to 6 inches. Lexington, Kentucky. Similar timing, 4 to 6 inches. Bowling Green, Kentucky. Begins slightly earlier around 9 o'clock Thursday evening, 4 to 5 inches. Charleston, West Virginia. Snow begins Friday morning around 2 o'clock, continues through Friday evening around 6 o'clock, 5 to 7 inches. Huntington, West Virginia. Similar timing, 4 to 6 inches. Now here's where the atmospheric dynamics get fascinating. What's happening is we have Arctic air locked in place east of the Appalachian Mountains. This is called cold air damming. You've got dense, cold air that's essentially trapped between the mountains and the Atlantic Ocean. It doesn't want to move. Meanwhile, we have this disturbance tracking northeast, bringing warmer, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico. That warm, moist air rides up and over the cold air. Meteorologists call this overrunning. When you have overrunning, you get precipitation. But the type of precipitation depends on the temperature profile. If the entire atmosphere is below freezing, you get snow. If there's a layer of warm air aloft, above 32 degrees, but the surface is below freezing, you get freezing rain or sleet. This is what we call a warm nose in the temperature profile. For this Thursday-Friday system, most locations stay cold enough for all snow. But there's a narrow zone across southern Arkansas, northern Louisiana, and southern Mississippi where we could see a transition to sleet or freezing rain Friday morning. Shreveport, Louisiana. Snow begins Thursday night around 9 o'clock. Transitions to sleet Friday morning around 6 o'clock. Ends Friday afternoon around noon. Snow accumulation, 1 to 2 inches. Sleet accumulation, 1/4 to 1/2 inch. Monroe, Louisiana. Similar pattern. 1 to 3 inches of snow, then sleet. Jackson, Mississippi. This is right on the edge. Snow begins Friday morning around 3 o'clock, possibly mixing with sleet by Friday afternoon. 1 to 3 inches. Tupelo, Mississippi. Stays cold enough for all snow. Friday morning around 4 o'clock through Friday afternoon around 2 o'clock. 3 to 5 inches. Now let's move to the Mid-Atlantic and discuss what happens there Friday into Saturday. This gets complicated because we have two potential scenarios depending on whether coastal low pressure develops. Scenario 1, the European model solution. A weak coastal low develops off the Carolina coast Friday afternoon. This tracks northeast along the coast Friday night and Saturday, bringing snow to the I-95 corridor from Richmond through Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, and possibly New York City. Under this scenario, Richmond, Virginia. Snow begins Friday evening around 6 o'clock. Continues through Saturday morning around 10 o'clock. 3 to 6 inches. Charlottesville, Virginia. Begins earlier, around 3 o'clock Friday afternoon. 4 to 7 inches. Roanoke, Virginia. Friday afternoon around 2 o'clock through Saturday morning around 8 o'clock. 5 to 8 inches. Washington, D.C. Snow begins Friday evening around 8 o'clock. Continues through Saturday around noon. The European model shows 4 to 7 inches. The GFS shows 1 to 3 inches. Big difference. I'm leaning toward 3 to 5 inches, but confidence is low. Baltimore, Maryland. Similar to D.C. Friday evening through Saturday morning, 3 to 6 inches. Frederick, Maryland. Slightly higher amounts, 4 to 7 inches. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Snow begins Friday night around 10 o'clock. Continues through Saturday afternoon around 2 o'clock. 3 to 6 inches under the European scenario, 1 to 3 inches under the GFS scenario. New York City. This is where it gets really uncertain. The European model brings light to moderate snow, 2 to 5 inches, Saturday morning through Saturday afternoon. The GFS keeps most of the snow south of the city, with only 1 to 2 inches. I don't have high confidence in either solution yet. Scenario 2, the GFS solution. The coastal low stays weak and tracks further offshore. Most precipitation stays south and east of I-95. In this scenario, the cities I just mentioned see much less snow, mainly 1 to 3 inches, with some locations seeing only clouds. We're running out of time to figure out which scenario verifies. By tomorrow morning, we should have better clarity. The overnight model runs will be critical. Let me shift to what I think is the most important part of this forecast, the second major Arctic blast arriving Friday and Saturday. Friday morning, temperatures absolutely crash across the plains. This could be the coldest morning of the entire winter for many locations. Amarillo, Texas, 0 degrees. Lubbock, Texas, 4 degrees. Abilene, Texas, 6 degrees. Wichita Falls, Texas, 8 degrees. Dallas, 12 degrees. Oklahoma City, 6 degrees. Tulsa, 8 degrees. Wichita, Kansas, 0 degrees. Topeka, Kansas, 2 degrees below zero. But here's the thing. This cold doesn't just affect Friday morning. It persists through the weekend. Friday afternoon highs. Dallas, 28 degrees. Oklahoma City, 26 degrees. Little Rock, 30 degrees. Memphis, 32 degrees. These are well below normal. Saturday morning could be even colder in some locations. We're talking about temperatures 5 to 10 degrees colder than Friday morning in parts of Texas and Oklahoma. Some models show Dallas dropping to near zero Saturday morning. That would be approaching record territory. The wind chills Friday and Saturday morning are dangerous, potentially life-threatening in some areas. Amarillo, 20 degrees below zero. Lubbock, 15 degrees below zero. Wichita, 25 degrees below zero. Kansas City, 22 degrees below zero. Omaha, 30 degrees below zero. Des Moines, 35 degrees below zero. Minneapolis, 45 degrees below zero. Now let's geek out for a moment about why this pattern is so persistent. From a large-scale atmospheric perspective, we have a split flow pattern developing. The jet stream is essentially splitting into two branches. One branch goes across southern Canada. Another branch drops down across the southern United States. When you have a split flow, you often get multiple disturbances moving through the southern branch. Each disturbance can produce precipitation, but because the northern branch is also active, you keep getting reinforcing shots of cold air from Canada. This pattern doesn't show signs of breaking down until at least February 8th or 9th. That's 10 to 12 days from now. During that time, we'll likely see multiple smaller snow events, none individually major like what we just experienced, but cumulatively significant. Let me talk about snowfall totals for the entire period from now through next Sunday. These are cumulative totals from multiple systems. Arkansas, Little Rock, 6 to 10 inches. Fort Smith, 5 to 8 inches. Fayetteville, 8 to 12 inches. Tennessee, Memphis, 5 to 8 inches. Nashville, 8 to 12 inches. Knoxville, 6 to 10 inches. Chattanooga, 5 to 8 inches. Kentucky, Louisville, 8 to 12 inches. Lexington, 8 to 12 inches. Bowling Green, 6 to 10 inches. West Virginia, Charleston, 10 to 15 inches. Huntington, 8 to 12 inches. Morgantown, 12 to 16 inches. Virginia, Richmond, 4 to 8 inches. Charlottesville, 6 to 10 inches. Roanoke, 8 to 12 inches. Lynchburg, 6 to 10 inches. North Carolina, Charlotte, 2 to 4 inches. Raleigh, 3 to 6 inches. Greensboro, 4 to 7 inches. Asheville, 6 to 10 inches. Boone, 10 to 16 inches. Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, 4 to 8 inches. Pittsburgh, 6 to 10 inches. Harrisburg, 6 to 10 inches. Allentown, 5 to 9 inches. Erie, 12 to 18 inches with lake effect. Scranton, 8 to 12 inches. New York, New York City, 3 to 7 inches. Buffalo, 10 to 16 inches with lake effect. Rochester, 8 to 14 inches with lake effect. Syracuse, 12 to 18 inches. Albany, 10 to 14 inches. New England, Boston, 12 to 16 inches additional from current storm, plus 3 to 6 inches possible next weekend. Hartford, 6 to 10 inches total additional. Providence, 5 to 9 inches total additional. Portland, Maine, 16 to 20 inches from current storm, plus 4 to 8 possible later. Burlington, Vermont, 10 to 14 inches additional. Ohio, Columbus, 6 to 10 inches. Cleveland, 8 to 12 inches. Cincinnati, 5 to 8 inches. Toledo, 6 to 10 inches. Dayton, 5 to 8 inches. Indiana, Indianapolis, 6 to 10 inches. Fort Wayne, 7 to 11 inches. Evansville, 4 to 6 inches. South Bend, 8 to 12 inches with lake effect. Illinois, Chicago, 4 to 7 inches. Springfield, 5 to 8 inches. Peoria, 6 to 9 inches. Rockford, 6 to 10 inches. Michigan, Detroit, 6 to 10 inches. Grand Rapids, 8 to 12 inches with lake effect. Lansing, 6 to 10 inches. Ann Arbor, 5 to 9 inches. Wisconsin, Milwaukee, 5 to 9 inches. Madison, 6 to 10 inches. Green Bay, 8 to 12 inches with lake effect. Now I need to talk about ice accumulation because this remains a serious concern for parts of the South. From the current storm, we saw less freezing rain than initially forecast across Tennessee and Mississippi. Most areas saw more sleet, which is less damaging than freezing rain. But we're not out of the woods yet. Tonight and tomorrow morning, as temperatures drop into the 20s across areas that saw melting today, any remaining liquid water will refreeze. This creates black ice, which is invisible and extremely dangerous on roadways. Atlanta, Georgia, temperatures drop to 28 degrees by midnight tonight. Remaining moisture from earlier melting refreezes. Expect icy spots on bridges and overpasses through tomorrow morning. Huntsville, Alabama, 26 degrees by 2 o'clock in the morning. Similar situation. Icy roadways likely. Birmingham, Alabama, 24 degrees by 3 o'clock in the morning. Black ice concerns. For the Thursday-Friday system, freezing rain is most likely across southern Arkansas and northern Louisiana. Shreveport could see 1/10 to 1/4 inch ice accumulation. Monroe, Louisiana, similar. Jackson, Mississippi, up to 1/10 inch possible. These amounts may sound small, but even 1/10 inch of ice can bring down tree limbs and power lines, especially when trees are already stressed from the previous ice event. Let me talk about power outages because this is a major ongoing concern. Currently, about 90% of Nashville remains without power. Many areas of Tennessee, Mississippi, and Louisiana have widespread outages. The challenge with restoration is the cold. When temperatures are in the teens and 20s, repair work becomes slower and more difficult. Crews can work in these conditions, but productivity drops. Equipment doesn't work as well in extreme cold. And if another round of ice hits before power is restored, it compounds the problem. My concern is that some communities could be without power for a week or longer. If you're in an affected area, you need to have a plan for staying warm without electricity. Check on neighbors, especially elderly residents. Now let's talk about travel impacts because this affects millions of people. Currently, travel across the South is extremely hazardous. Interstate 40 from Arkansas through Tennessee has multiple stretches with ice. Interstate 24 in Tennessee is partially ice-covered. Interstate 75 in Kentucky has reports of black ice. Interstate 65 in Alabama has icy patches. This hazardous travel continues through at least Tuesday, possibly Wednesday, because temperatures stay too cold for significant melting. Thursday night and Friday, travel deteriorates again as the next system moves through. Any interstate from Little Rock to Charleston, West Virginia will see snow and possible sleet. Plan for delays. Friday night and Saturday, if the coastal storm develops, I-95 from Richmond to New York could become treacherous. This is still uncertain, but it's something to watch closely. Let me give you some historical context. The last time we saw a cold pattern this persistent was February 2014. That winter became known as the polar vortex winter. Multiple cities saw their coldest month on record. Atlanta received more snow than many northern cities. It was relentless. We're seeing similar atmospheric setups now, not identical but similar. That concerns me because it suggests this pattern could indeed last through early February. Here's what we know with high confidence. Arctic air is locked in place. Temperatures will be well below normal for at least 10 days. Multiple disturbances will move through, each capable of producing snow. Travel will be difficult across large portions of the eastern United States. Here's what remains uncertain: exact snow amounts for each individual system. The track of the potential coastal storm this weekend. Whether we see a third Arctic blast around February 4th through 6th, which some models suggest. So, to recap what we've covered, current winter storm winding down across New England tonight and tomorrow. Extreme cold Monday and Tuesday across 2/3 of the country. Next, snow system Thursday night and Friday affecting Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, and possibly the Mid-Atlantic. Second major Arctic blast Friday and Saturday. Potential coastal storm Saturday. Track still uncertain. Pattern remains cold and active through at least February 8th. If you'd like a specific forecast for your city, leave it in the comments and I'll answer individually as time allows. I read every comment and I do try to respond, especially when models are changing rapidly like they are right now. I'll be back tomorrow morning with fresh model data. We'll see which models verified for the current New England snow, and we'll have much better clarity on the Thursday-Friday system and the weekend coastal storm potential. There's also another possible system around next Tuesday or Wednesday that we need to start monitoring. The key thing to remember is this: we're in a prolonged winter pattern. This isn't one storm and done. It's multiple events over 10 to 12 days. Stay patient, stay prepared, and stay informed. I'll keep you updated as forecasts evolve.